It's been a long wait, but finally, it's nearly time for the latest installment in the Zelda series, Breath of the Wild. Releasing simultaneously on the Wii U and the new Switch hardware, the game is billed as a serious attempt by the developers to not only overhaul the established conventions of the series, but also as a radical departure that aims to return to Zelda's 30-year-old roots. The promise of endless freedom to explore a massive Hyrule is alluring, and so we've taken our first steps into Breath of the Wild's enormity. After just 5 hours with the game, it's clear Breath of the Wild is something different. For starters, the amount of times we've died is staggering. After becoming accustomed to Zelda games being a cakewalk, it's surprising to experience death so frequently. Many deaths come accidentally, usually when falling from great heights, but just as many come from rushing into battle, expecting enemies to be pushovers. In these early goings, the game grooms you to understand that you will die a lot. You can learn from your mistakes and concoct a better approach, whether it's stocking up on more items, improving your gear, or just studying an enemy's attack patterns. Getting around and exploring such a vast world might seem intimidating, but Breath of the Wild starts you in a small starter area called the Great Plateau until you get your bearings. You also have a handy item called the Sheikah Slate, which can guide you along your journey in many ways, such as being able to drop markers on key points and tracking progress through both main quests and side quests. Eventually, it can even be used to fast travel to previously visited locations, making the trek across the massive world more manageable. There's plenty to see and do on the Great Plateau, whether it's simply coming across enemy encampments with well-guarded treasures, or tracking down shrines, which are mini-dungeons that contain puzzles or other challenges to overcome. The game constantly encourages you to venture in any direction at your own leisure, and usually your efforts will not go unrewarded. Eventually you get better tools to help you track down and unearth certain things, like the Sheikah sensor, which alerts you when a shrine is nearby, giving you a greater degree of certainty that you're on the right track. Link has a wide array of abilities and items, enabling him to survive out in the wilderness. You can equip different types of gear and weapons to help you along the way, some more beneficial than others. Swords, spears, axes, shields, and bows are all at your disposal and come in various types and strengths. One caveat is that each has a fixed durability, and once it breaks, you have to change your gear or track down a replacement. Combat is more methodical than before, as you can do time dodges to activate a flurry attack, parry with your shield to create an opening, and hurl your weapon from afar to knock down your foes. You can gather materials and weapons from your natural surroundings or from vanquished foes and put them to good use too. Many of these materials can be used in their raw forms to replenish your health, or you can find a spot to cook ingredients to turn them into something more potent. Cooked dishes not only restore health, but can also have additional side effects, like temporarily providing resistance to cold weather or boosting stamina. This is important to note since early on you can encounter freezing weather atop a mountain that either requires the use of special food or warmer clothing to survive. While on-foot exploration usually means walking or running from one spot to the next, Breath of the Wild has a special focus on climbing surfaces to reach higher vantage points. Link can climb on virtually any surface in the game, but the act depletes your stamina. You have to find solid footing to rest and restore your stamina, otherwise you'll fall, sometimes to your death. Climbing to higher points is not only for discovering optional areas, but it's essential for progressing through the game. Finally, besides basic gear and weapons, Link acquires special abilities from runes by completing certain tasks in the game. One rune allows you to conjure a bomb and detonate it remotely. Another lets you move around metal objects at will with a magnet. And yet another rune enables you to freeze certain objects in place and alter their trajectory with strikes from your weapons. These abilities are essential to getting across Hyrule and serve as the basis for many of the puzzle elements you'll encounter. There is one important issue that needs to be brought up though: the game's frame rate. The Switch version has occasional frame rate issues, ranging from temporary hiccups to extended bouts of stuttering in high-density environments. So be warned that the Switch version isn't devoid of this problem. It's not just specific to the Wii U version. What we've covered is honestly just the basics, as we've barely scratched the surface of what's in store beyond the Great Plateau. We've spent several days with Breath of the Wild so far, and there's still so much to do and see. Whether or not the dramatic changes in store pay off for the series, or fail to live up to expectations, is something we'll answer when our review lands next week. Be sure to check back then for the final word on Breath of the Wild.